Debate on vote number 11, Public Enterprises Appropriation Bill.
I now call upon the Honourable the Minister of Public Enterprises to introduce the debate. The Honourable the Minister.
Honourable Chairperson, the Honourable Deputy Minister, Honourable Ministers in attendance, Honourable Members, Chairpersons and CEOs of our state-owned companies, the Director General, distinguished guests. We are honoured to present to this EPC today our budget vote for 2012-2013. We are doing so at a time when the global economic outlook is a major cause for concern, resulting in a great deal of uncertainty. Our response, though, in this budget vote is that we have good reason to be confident about the future, based in part on the investment programs of our state-owned companies, the aim of which is to get South Africa working, growing, and moving. In this presentation, we shall report back on some of our key achievements for the previous financial year, broadly outline the steps we have taken to bolster our shareholder management function and governance framework, and detail our plans for the infrastructure, aviation, and manufacturing programs. As expected, the Deputy Minister will give further details on some of our achievements in the areas delegated to him, as well as provincial coordination. The investment programs of our SOCs are dramatically transforming the South African economic landscape. By 2020, an additional 11,719 megawatts will have been added into the electricity system, and 6,596 kilometers of transmission network installed to support security of supply. Existing logistics corridors will be expanded upon, and new corridors will have been established. And 1,317 new locomotives and 25,000 new wagons will have been procured, and procured in a manner that puts in place a world-class, export-oriented rail manufacturing sector. 6,405 kilometers of rail will have been replaced for the general freight, coal, and ore lines, increasing the rail network capacity by 149.7 million tons. 13,125 kilometers of fiber optic cable would have been refurbished and strengthened to ensure carrier-grade status, and our broadband network would have been expanded to include metros and underserviced areas. Chairperson, last year I announced a new vision for the department, the key elements of which included changes in the way SOCs plan, fund, and procure their investment programs. The Transnet Market Demand Strategy is a concrete response to this new vision, in that the company has expanded its capital expenditure framework from 110 billion rand over 5 years to 300 billion rand over 7 years. Critical in this strategy is that 55% of the capex will be investments in new logistics capacity, which goes beyond the predominant focus on maintenance of the previous capex plans. 200 billion rand of the funding will come from retained earnings, while the rest will be raised in the market. Quite clearly, this massive capacity growth should unlock pent-up demand for logistics capacity and serve as a much-needed stimulus to growth and job creation. Over the next MTF period, Transnet will spend 107 billion rand, with 31 billion rand budgeted for this financial year. Transnet's total contribution to employment is expected to increase by 54.8% from 368,450 in 2011-2012 to 570,263 jobs in 2018-2019. In the next quarter, Transnet will implement a 7-year locomotive fleet procurement of unprecedented scale in South Africa's history, amounting to approximately 35 billion rand for 1,064 locomotives. The Durban dig-out port, at a cost of over 100 billion rand, will fundamentally alter the logistics landscape of the region. A project of this scale will only be possible in partnership with the private sector, and we have already started developing a relevant implementation plan. Chairperson, our vision envisages a relationship between our SOCs and their customers that drives investment and changes in our national competitiveness. Our vision envisages a relationship between our SOCs and their customers that drives investment and enhances our national competitiveness, particularly in sectors identified as important in our industrial policy and the new growth path. In pursuit of this, we are establishing project-based forums between SOCs and key customer sectors. For example, we have established an automotive forum that will focus on improving operational efficiencies on rail and at the ports, and on increasing investment in specialized automotive-related rail and port capacity, as well as on ensuring security of electricity supply. Chairperson, ESCOM continues to invest in building the required infrastructure to ensure adequate electricity supply. The funding plan for 2017 has been finalized, and about 75% of the funding has been secured. Over the MTF period, ESCOM will spend 201.6 billion rand, 65 billion rand of which is budgeted for this financial year. As the shareholder representative, we have increased ESCOM's domestic borrowing program from 65 billion rand to 100 billion rand to fund the approved build program. During the 2011-12 financial year, ESCOM was able to secure a total of $615 million for its renewables energy programs from the African Development Bank, the Clean Technology Fund, and the World Bank. During this year, we will both commence the construction of the 100 megawatt Sierra wind farm and conclude the feasibility study for the 100 megawatt concentrated solar power project. In the current financial year, 260 megawatt is to be added to the system, with a further 894 megawatt added next year when we include the first unit of Medupi, and 915 kilometers of transmission network will be installed this year. Owing to severely constrained generation capacity, we are implementing a public awareness campaign, the 49M, which is a clarion call to all 49 million South Africans to do their part in saving electricity. ESCOM has undertaken a number of interventions to ensure security of supply, which include enhancing reliability from electricity imports, especially from Kaurabasa, procuring more than 370 megawatts from the medium-term power purchase program, procuring about 400 megawatt additional generation capacity from municipalities, and accelerated energy efficiency and the demand-side management programs. I have approved a strategy to keep the lights on, which consists of, among other things, the voluntary energy conservation scheme involving ESCOM's big customers, the short-term power buyback program to secure more than 1,000 megawatts of power saving from ESCOM's customers, and the energy saving plan signed with all the SOCs in our portfolio. In the midst of the constraints we have been experiencing, I am delighted to announce that ESCOM will, in June this year, conduct a pressure testing exercise on the first boiler at Medupi, which will be a key milestone of the process to ensure delivery of the unit by 2013. Chairperson, over the last year, the department has focused on bringing stability to broadband infrastructure management board and business processes. Key appointments, including that of CEO, have been made. The audit of problem areas has been finalized and remedial action taken. I am pleased to announce that the West Africa Cable System International Connectivity became operational on the 11th May 2012, thus increasing bandwidth capacity, providing for improved integration of the 10 African countries that are WEX customers, and enabling the further reduction of the cost to communicate. Over the MTF period, Infraco's capital expenditure budget is around 3.1 billion rand, with 780 million rand budgeted for the 2012-2013 financial year. Infraco is now well positioned to assume its role as a major player in the ICT sector. As a carrier of carriers, Infraco will work aggressively to promote competition in the services sector by making critical infrastructure available to electronic communication services licensees. Further, as a wholesaler of ICT infrastructure, Infraco is well positioned to house and administer the scarce radio frequency spectrum currently under discussion. For interventions such as Infraco to succeed, it is necessary that government and its agencies be enlisted as major tenants on its network in order to enable the rollout of the e-governance strategy and extend broadband infrastructure to underserviced areas. The department and Broadband Infraco are working on a detailed funding plan which aims to address the current cash position of the company. Chairperson, in furtherance of the infrastructure rollout plans announced by the President, and in order to ensure that I exercise prudent oversight over the programs which shall be implemented by the SOCs in our portfolio, the department shall establish an integrated project office which will provide enhanced monitoring and reporting of progress and risks relating to the implementation of the programs, and will assist the SOCs in mobilizing support from relevant government departments and agencies for the removal of bottlenecks. Chairperson, for us to get South Africa working and growing, it is imperative that our SOCs lead in efforts to reduce the cost of doing business without compromising their financial sustainability. In response to the President's call for a lower electricity price increase this financial year, the Department and ESCOM successfully developed proposals to reduce the increase from 25% to 16%, effectively giving back more than 11 billion rand to South African consumers. Beyond this, the future price path will be determined in the context of the MYPD3. In addition, the President further announced a 1 billion rand port tariff rebate for manufactured exports. In this regard, I am delighted to announce that the Ports Authority has already processed tariff rebates amounting to 52.9 million rand against qualifying export cargoes since 1 April 2012. Chairperson, aviation is well placed to continue its strong support of South Africa's trade, business and leisure tourism objectives. Together with the South African Airways and the South African Express, we have drafted an African aviation strategy that is to be submitted to Cabinet in June this year, aimed at focusing the state-owned airlines on opportunities in the continent and on promoting regional integration. The fact is that Africa must constitute the primary market and route for South African airlines. Given our location on the southern tip of the African continent and the extremely volatile nature of the airline industry, I believe that it is critical that we sustain a national flag carrier to ensure security of air transport to our country. The damage both to business and tourism of unreliable air travel to South Africa will be immeasurable. The dual challenge of a depressed global economy and high fuel prices means that shareholder support for SAA in particular to procure a modern and fuel-efficient fleet is vital if it is to remain competitive. The substance of such support is the subject of an ongoing discussion between the Department, National Treasury and SAA. However, there is much to celebrate in SAA. We launched the Johannesburg-Beijing route on the 31st January this year, which will contribute significantly to establishing South Africa as an aviation hub between South America and China, linking 3 of the 5 BRICS countries and connecting 3 continents. We are delighted to announce that in line with our African aviation strategy, we have introduced 5 new destinations in Africa since October 2011, with Cotonou in Benin commencing operating as of the 17th of May 2012, tomorrow. We are working with the South African Express Board to address the internal control challenges that the company is currently facing to restore public confidence in the company. Notwithstanding the above, the airline has launched 3 new domestic routes and has further established a base at King Shaka International Airport, from which the airline will play a catalytic role in continental trade and economic integration, supporting the Dubai Trade Port IDZ as well. Chairperson, Denel's core defense entities are breaking even, and there is projected improvement in financial performance, program delivery, and export market penetration. During 2011-2012, Denel secured over 5 billion rand orders, that will be delivered over the next 5 years. The department, together with the National Treasury, are exploring various sustainable funding mechanisms for Denel, cognizant of the fact that a complete turnaround of Denel will not only depend on funding and new revenue streams, but also on improvements in operational efficiency as well as enhanced alignment with the Department of Defense. With regard to Denel Aerostructures, the renegotiation of the A400M contract with Airbus is proceeding well, which will put the company on a firmer financial footing. The 700 million rand capitalization of Denel Aerostructures announced by the Minister of Finance will allow the company to prepare itself for the serial manufacturing phase of the A400M program starting in 2012-2013. Furthermore, Denel Aviation will deliver the last fully certified and combat-ready Roy Falk helicopters to the South African Air Force during 2012, making this the first helicopter to be designed, built, qualified, and fully certified in the African continent. The department welcomes the publication of the Defense Review 2012 draft document. Together with Denel, the department will make submissions to the review committee. Chairperson, our SOCs have a critical role to play in driving regional integration. Consequently, during the course of this financial year, we intend developing and announcing an integrated Africa expansion strategy, which will seek to leverage our SOC capabilities and competitive advantages. Chairperson, one of the critical pillars of the department's vision is to drive transformation. This entails initiatives relating to procurement, employment equity, skills development, and broad-based BEE. In this regard, as an example of the progress being made by our SOCs, in February this year, Transnet appointed Sizwe Nsaluba Gobodo as the company's external auditors for the next 5 years, representing the single largest audit appointment of a South African black-owned auditing practice. However, much remains still to be done to develop a more robust transformation program. Accordingly, the department will host an SOC Transformation Summit in July to align the SOC transformation programs with our vision. Policies, processes, and related systems have been revised to ensure that supplier development concerns are integrated into all insignificant procurements. Thus far, Eskom has leveraged commitments of over 1.2 billion rand in investment in manufacturing capacity by suppliers, 644 million rand of which has already been invested. Transnet has entered into contracts valued at 14 billion rand, containing supplier development commitments of 5.4 billion rand, 2.9 billion rand of which have already been delivered to date. Transnet has during the second half of this year, the department will also be hosting a supplier development summit where comprehensive details of Eskom and Transnet's procurement and supplier development plans for the next 5 years will be shared with industry. Furthermore, our SOCs are playing a leadership role in the production of scarce and critical skills, both through internal training and through mobilizing our suppliers to play their role. Our SOCs are committed to producing skills to both meet their needs and the requirements of a growing economy. In total, more than 15,000 learners were trained in various scarce and critical skills learning programs within the SOCs in our portfolio in 2011-2012. This year, an additional 5,500 learners will be enrolled. In addition, Eskom has leveraged training of 6,130 learners as part of supplier contractual obligations and the building of power stations, with some getting on-the-job experience abroad. Eskom's training budget has increased from 998 million rand in 2011-12 to 1.2 billion rand in 2012-13, while Transnet has increased from 670 million to 870 million. In terms of Transnet's market demand strategy, about 7.7 billion rand is budgeted for training, which translates to about 1.1 billion rand over 7 years. All SOC training facilities are being optimized to produce highly specialized skills for the industries in which they operate. In collaboration with the Department of Higher Education and Training, and as part of strengthening the FET colleges, SAA signed a memorandum of understanding with Eguruleni West College to train youth in aviation skills. The department also launched the Youth Economic Participation Program in June 2011, systematically to mainstream participation of youth in the economy within SOC business. A forum will be established between the department, the SOCs, and development finance institutions to provide systematic support to young entrepreneurs to enable them to access available opportunities. Chairperson, the Companies Act 2008 came into effect over the past year, and the department has made great strides in strengthening the governance of our SOCs in this context. However, since SOCs are not ordinary commercial enterprises, in that they also have a mandate to achieve longer-term strategic economic objectives, a key responsibility of the department's annual activity is focused on the identification and design of improvements in the SOC oversight and governance within the objective of both securing SOC financial integrity and stimulating improved national economic performance. This includes making inputs on a range of governance processes for SOCs and implementing initiatives that leverage the assets, activities, and capacities of SOCs for the benefit of the economy as a whole. Thus far, we have developed innovative approaches and comprehensive guidelines to codify and harmonize shareholder management practices across the SOCs within our portfolio. In view of the expanding oversight role of the department and the increased need strategically to guide the SOC's investment programs, we have conducted a review of the organizational structure and capacity of the department. This was to close the gap between the department's expanded oversight responsibilities and the resources available to it to execute its mandate. Arising from this review, we have reconfigured certain branches and created new divisions, which are currently being staffed within existing resource constraints. Chairperson, quite clearly, in many countries, as well as in both public and private sector companies, the issue of the remuneration of both executive and non-executive directors has assumed prominence. The benefit of this review has encompassed not only the individual needs of the SOCs, but also the policies of national government, as well as the department's shareholder expectations. We are creating a new remuneration model that is fair and transparent and can consistently be applied by all the SOCs within the department's portfolio. Aware of the constraints to the SOCs and the potential risks that the decision may have on the boards and their CEOs, we shall strive to finalize the framework as speedily as possible. Chairperson, working with the SOCs, the department in 2011 developed a strategic framework to guide the SOCs in their responses to the challenge of climate change. Some of our SOCs will soon be announcing their carbon footprints, and certain management incentives have already been aligned with energy efficiency and reduced carbon emissions. WWF has been appointed as our partner in developing the SOC positions and strategies relating to the framework. Chairperson, what is clear is that the SOCs in our portfolio are in the process of transforming the economic landscape of our country, and through their investment processes and the resultant additional capacity, they are producing a myriad of new business opportunities for SOC suppliers, customers, and other stakeholders. We can already see the private sector begin to engage with these opportunities, a process that I believe will gather considerable momentum, resulting in increased growth and employment. In conclusion, I would like to thank the Deputy Minister, Dikobe Ben Martins, aka Ben Martins, the Director General, Tsidiso Matuna, and all the DDGs and staff of the department for their relentless support and tireless work, particularly as we worked hard to change the vision of the department. I would like to thank the interns in the ministry sitting at the corner up there, Ms. Tibatso Nilane, Ms. Koketso Mujaji, and Ms. Kagiso Sigage, and wish them well during their tenure in the department. I thank the chairpersons, the CEOs, and all the staff of our state-owned companies for their commitment to fulfilling the difficult goals and targets we set them, particularly during this difficult economic climate. I thank the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the Honorable Peter Maluleke, the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee and my cabinet colleagues for their support and regular wise counsel. I am humbled, therefore, Mr. Chairperson, to request, and I'm taking my hands off the pocket, to request the EPC to support this budget of 1,249,072,000, you know, Chair, that much. Thank you.